Yep, we're talking about Tom King's Rorschach, and as you can see, I got the variant cover mostly for morbid curiosity's sake of the whole traditional Watchmen bar that usually goes on these covers, whereas the Tom King one doesn't have a the yellow bar that's known for. Or this is a new 12 prestige format series, new 12 issue series by Tom King, the writer of classic literary works such as Mr. Miracle, oh, the Vision, the very the Omega Men. Okay, that was a good series, three series. Okay, uh, okay, so how do I best explain this? He's also the writer of Strange Adventures. That's pretty good so far. And there's also the upcoming Batman Catwoman. And he's also the writer of Batman, was at least. And he was the writer of. Okay, I wouldn't really call him the writer. He was more like I was the forced artist to do it, of Heroes in Crisis. So this is a new take on the Watchmen universe post Watchmen, involving the Rorschach character, but it can't clearly be Walter Kovacs unless cosmic events happen. Which, if you've seen the variant cover that shows him lifting dumbbells featuring Doctor Manhattan, that probably could be where they're going with this. But we'll see. This is a mystery. This is only the first issue, so this is um going to be part of a much bigger elaborate scheme I have planned in the future. So I've been reading some more of Tom King's works in order to really get a vibe of why stories like Mr. Miracle, the Omega Men, the Omega Man, the Vision, and where are so beloved by fans, and yet when you see his Batman run, and you see his run, and you see his run with Heroes in Crisis, you you can't help, like, Batman had mixed moments. Like, there were some good moments, there were some awesome moments, there were some terrible moments, there were some infamous moments, but everyone agreed that yeah, it probably should have. Yeah, Tom King probably shouldn't have written that. Shouldn't have been the guy to write Batman for a lot of people. Besides the Catwoman Batman dynamic they gave like the whole would be marriage thing that almost happened, but Didio hates that. So and everyone kind of agrees that it went downhill for a major degree after issue 50. But then when you read his other books that are all the 12 formatted ones, all of a sudden everyone praises him. But when you read Heroes in Crisis, which was a 9 issue series, oh god, that was a disaster. Uh, yeah. But that will come in a future video, hopefully one day, where I discuss and deconstruct all of Tom King's work and talk about his writing style, and why I think he was probably not the right guy to write Batman, and why he's the right guy to do those 12 series stuff. But that will come at a later date. So this is written by Tom King, Rorschach, and this is written by George Fornes. He's and colored by Dave Stewart. Uh, we open chapter 1 of the Rorschach series, which is set 35 years after Watchmen, so it's set in the year 2020. So naturally, we start things off with Rorschach being killed, with him screaming Laura. He gets shot in the shoulder, then shot multiple times, 4 more times. Then he's on his knees and saying, and one last blast to the head. Clear, we're clear. And as we see that the shootings occurred during a huge presidential moment, a huge presidential election announcement, vote thoroughly, and people crowding around in celebratory fashion. And then we cut to the aftermath of this event. We see a detective working. We see some police and detective work going on. I think there's no way to say it except to say, sir, I don't trust the people working on this. They're all Redford people. At the end of the day, whatever uniform they wear, that's who they sign their That's who they signs their paychecks. And I hate to say it, but we need one of our own looking into this. And I've asked around, and I think you might be it. A man almost died yesterday. Great man. On the verge of becoming well. This isn't going to stop him. Thank Christ. I don't even want to think about what could have been. But we need to look into this. That's for damn sure. How you want to do it? We've already talked to the feds already. They don't want anything near a scandal this close to the election. They're panicked. We're going to start saying Redford wanted to win so bad he didn't want to give proper security to you or something. Which he didn't, but we don't want to win like that. That's not what this campaign is about. Anyway, they'll give you the room to move, and if they don't, you just let me know. And I heard, when I heard this, it was like, wait, they want to win nobly? This is politics. But then Tom King also said that Rorschach is a book where he discusses his anger of the current landscape of politics, which I totally get. Like, you could tell certain moments. I'll get to that at the end. I've heard you took the call. Yeah, on the VIP line. They traced it back to the public phone on the con floor. They got no cameras on the phone. On that phone, hundreds of people had access to it. How they got the VIP number? Why they didn't just call the cops or whatever? Why I had to be in it? That'd be a good place to start. Phone rings, and then you notice something. Even though it's established this is like 35 years after, it's set in 2020, you notice how a lot of the technology seems off? Well, you see, it was stated that Tom King, that this is set theoretically in a prequel setting of a HBO Watchmen series. Which I haven't checked out yet. Well, I have seen several episodes. But they have said, but I did know that Redford stopped the internet from happening. And, yeah. And this led to technology not going as fast as it could have gotten. But it looks like everything's straight out of the 70s still. Or at least going at a snail's pace now that the internet's not a thing. You'll know what I'm talking about. So we get a phone call in a area looking at a convention that's overseeing the convention footage. Hello? Excuse me, who's this calling? Ross, get the number for security. That was, it's nothing but some crank call security. Tell them we got a call that there's, I guess a sniper, they said, on the catwalk, and someone's helping her, they said. Some crazy person wearing a Rorschach mask, they said. Anyway, FBI assigned someone already to liaise with you. I have his number. It's waiting to hear from you. They didn't have any IDs. We cut to the autopsy room, showing the dead corpses of the Rorschach and Laura. They didn't have any ID on them. We got the girl from fingerprints. Laura Cummings, 19, out of Hannah, Wyoming. We're digging up everything on her now. They won't... let's see. There wasn't much on the file on her, is my understanding. At least under what we know. How? Our quote-unquote Rorschach friend here is a bit more of a problem. Sadly, no fingerprints in the system, which means he didn't drive and he didn't have a license plate. Medical examiner says he's a relatively fit man for his age, maybe like 80s, if you can believe it, at least maybe older. The shot to the face is obviously going to make the ID even harder. We'll try to reconstruct it as best we can after the autopsy. Can you send me a copy of those prints? Well, they tell me you gotta get everything. Who am I to argue? Anyway, only thing really is interesting is that one of the gun wounds on Cummings isn't from yesterday. Probably got a week or so back. Then he points to the corpse of Laura Cummings, saying, went straight through. Doesn't look clean. She was apparently shot in the shoulder, it seems. No, you're right. The pattern on the stitches. This wasn't a pro. We'll check if there's antibiotics in the tox screen, but I think they patched this up themselves. We're checking the hospitals, though, just in case. Does sort of suggest to me that they weren't that organized. I mean, if there was a big conspiracy or something, they at least have a doctor. You want to go look at their stuff? That's all? Oh, so it cuts to the evidence room, showing just the Rorschach and Laura outfits. It's with one of the investigators, detective, talking to some of the evidence room guy, saying this. That's all? Yeah, it's just this. Just clothes, the gun, and that tape. The guy's already at the lab. Report will be in ASAP. We're processing that tape now, obviously, but you should have seen that thing. It was from, like, the 60s? We're having trouble extracting what's on it. Just finding something to play it on without breaking it. We'll get it eventually. It's just time. We'll send a copy of the tape as soon as we get one. What about the masks? And we get another flashback of the hypothetical scenario where it's revealed that it's a store-bought mask, just Halloween stuff. made in China, like everything else. We're trying to track where they were bought, but they probably pay cash. But maybe there's cameras. You can get lucky. But there's a million of these things. It's a pretty popular costume, even after Oklahoma. Yeah, see, this is the part where they hint that this takes place in the HBO version of Watchmen's universe. So, yeah, you would think something like this would be brought up in the HBO Watchmen series, but Tom King pointed out that, oh, you can interpret it after Watchmen, during the HBO Watchmen series or before it, but really I'm just trying not to interfere with that continuity. So like it's sort of in there, but not really. You can interpret it as that if you want to wedge it in there, but you'll see we'll probably see more Easter eggs, so to speak, in later issues. You almost wish it was a fancy one, like the real Rorschach wore. You remember how Rorschach's bullets would move around his mag so you could read it different? That was special. That'd be easier to find. This fake crap, it's everywhere, really. Ah, yes. Commercialism and mass marketing. Much to Alan Moore's hatred. The tape is going to be the key. That's it, I'm telling you. There's always a statement or a rant from these guys. Probably thought he was going to get killed after the assassination and he had a tape in his pocket. That'll say what it is. They didn't have badges on them? How did they get into the convention? Don't you need a badge to get in? Badges have your name, your picture. You gotta do a whole lot of register thing online. They get scanned. They probably ditched them. Was Cumming registered? No, we looked into that. So they ditched the fake IDs. Man, those people are crazy people. The tape they'll tell you, you'll see, you can't reason with these people. These days, reason's out the door. Yeah, that's true. Look, I don't know where you want to get out to with this, but if you need to hear from the guard, you should do that sooner rather than later. You talk to the doctors? One of the survivors of the would-be assassination attempt talks to the detective. In fact, now that I realize that we didn't get his name. I talk to them. They won't talk to me, treat me like I'm a damn kindergarten kid. I got twins in kindergarten, Dwayne and Dwight. I'm not a kindergarten type kid. Jesus Christ, what they say to you, that you're dying. And he realizes that probably was not supposed to be said, and just says, shit. We could get a call from the campaign right while Charlie was speaking. They said it was probably a crank call, but you're supposed to check out the crank, so we're going down the hall. Well, Secret Service was sending people too, but we got there first. We cleared out the catwalk earlier. We knew where the door was. I don't hear anything. So this is showing the flashback sequence of the whole event that occurred. And one of the officers tries to open the door, and the other one says, go slow, only for the door to be horrendously kicked open. And then the man that got shot pulls out his gun and tells him to shit, freeze, come out. Oh, and then the hand comes out of the shadows and grips the arm and takes the gun from him. And it goes off. Let go of the officer. Don't make me yell my orders to you. And yeah, these are the worst cops ever. And then they're screaming as his hand gets jammed into the door and a gunfire goes off, and the officer and the guy who's now armed just says, come out now! Come out now! I know you have a gun, but I'm gonna go ahead and order you because you're clearly prepared to fight. And then this moment happens. After the door slams, after several more gunshots, one of the officers calls out to him, Ron, you okay? Ron? Ron, where's your gun? And a barrage of gunfire bursts through the doors, killing the two guards. And the door is completely wrecked. Though I am trying to wonder, that's a pistol, right? How does it have that kind of power? Especially to go through that thick door. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of the mystery. We'll see. So he just freaks out and says, what did... Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then... and then the door creaks open. And he just whispers, oh my god. All that gunfire, people thought it was the balloons. Revealing Rorschach wielding his smoking gun. And then he prepares to execute You get the police officer before as Ron begs, please, and then a gunfire goes off behind Rorschach, where he screams "No!" while shooting the guy in the shoulder. I guess he heard the Secret Service coming from the other way. There wasn't a door there, but they blew a hole in the wall. I passed out after that. Woke up here. You thought I was a crank? Why was service blowing out the wall? Why not back you up at the door? How did they know you to be there? Dude, I don't know. All I know is that thank God they were, okay? Because if they weren't, I'd be some footnote. You know what that's it. The guy that didn't save the future president of the United States. Yeah. Glory is the keynote of life. So then we get more identification that something has seriously gone wrong with the timeline, as we see the detective, whose name has not been mentioned at all, pulls out a pager. And then he just says, I'm sorry, you got a phone I can use? It's a bit of an emergency. So he heads to a payphone and says, yeah. Good news. Bad news, we figured out how to play the tape. It's not an explanation of what they were doing, it's weird stuff. But there are a bunch of names on it. I'm messaging it over to you. When you listen, you'll hear. Going through the names, some are past, some are easy to find. And then, yeah. The voice call continues. One guy has searched for him. Looks like he's been missing for almost 4 weeks or so. Just the right age. He's William Marison. He's actually a little famous. I guess he's the guy who created Point Us Pirate back in the 60s. There's all sorts of stuff out there about him. He's a crazy shut-in type, but there's like people who worship him. It's crazy. I think this is him. This is our Rorschach. And then we get the tape playing, and oh yeah, this is where it gets weird. We're at the house of the Otter Binder, at Chestertown, New York. There are 4 of us. This is the Otter Binder speaking, and the others will introduce themselves in turn. And as this narration continues, it gets referential at times. We would like to contact the Spirit Man and a call from Mary Binder. My daughter, this is your daddy. I would like to also contact Earl Binder, my brother. This is Otto, your brother. Please try to come in. Try to state your names and some message will indicate that it's you. This is Randy Cox. I would like to know if Mark Van Dorn, a poet and good friend, remember sending me an autographed copies of his book. And then they get to this reference. This is Frank Miller. I'd like to contact my grandmother, Birmingham, and ask her to say her name and say hello or anything. This is Will Marison. I like to hear from... Okay, let's run it back a few minutes. Gives the spirits a chance to respond. So yeah, they're just weird, right? Like, they mentioned these several famous people like Frank Miller. And as the detective ponders in his bed, and he says, yes, poor Titus pirate sailed over the 7 seas. And when he was done, he got on his knees. He prayed, oh Lord, what hast I done? Not good enough, I answered. Not enough, my son. And it turns out that comic book is turning into a live-action movie coming 2021. Don't worry, I'm pretty sure it's going to get delayed heading into 2022. Ooh. And we get whiskey drinks with the detective and the FBI. The FBI says these are our foiled assassins. William Marison, Laura Cummings. I thought he was an old guy. What's with the picture? Marison had problems. Basically never left his apartment after 1974. He said maybe to walk for groceries. No family, no license, no pictures, no friends. And we see Rorschach and Laura in this flashback sequence revealing that, yeah, they were there and they were ready to do it. Raid Office Place revealed a bunch of drawings. He was an artist, drew pirate stuff in the 60s. Kept drawing for himself after that, apparently. The stuff, though, I've seen some of it. Not a lot of it makes sense. Nothing patterns going nowhere. A lot of nonsense words, boxes of it. However, some of it seems like a liberal stuff. Everyone's a fascist, that kind of thing. Even some anti-terrorly junk. Pictures you might interpret as death threats. He was a fanatic. For a credit card, FBI's got Cummings in the city same day Marison goes missing. So FBI figures that's when they hooked up. It works. Old guy couldn't handle fame. Young girl carried away. This is what happens. So FBI says this is our guy, but there's a collector here in LA. Does costume hero stuff. Got a Manhattan thong, all that. Ew. Helped him out when he got something stolen a while back. 86. Walter Kovacs goes to the Sing Sing, gives his prints. Everyone thought they got burnt up in the riot. But this collector, he already bribed a guard for them. I reached out to the guy. He sent me over Kovacs prints to compare the ones with on the body. The two sets match. What? What are you talking about? Come on. Nah, be serious. This is a serious campaign. We don't need this. Check the clock. It's 2020, detective. Rorschach's dead. To be continued. So, yeah, that's the end of Rorschach #1. And now we got to talk about the aftermath. So, yeah, I was confused. Like, at first I was confused, but when I saw the Oklahoma mention and everything, I was like, oh, so this is using the continuity a little bit of the HBO Watchmen series, where Robert Redford destroyed the internet, essentially, to the point that the internet's not as powerful as it could have been in our time. Right? But when I heard the phrase "it's 2020" and everything, I was like, ah, it's 2020. That means this is an average day of the human race. Gotcha. So let's get right into this. So the cover art for both covers are pretty awesome. Um, and I don't really, and I know the controversy surrounding this artist regarding his affiliation with a certain group of people. Well, I don't want to mention that. I don't want to get drama on my channel and everything. I'm just here to have fun and document my thoughts and everything on YouTube. Oop, in fact, let me try this. Okay. So, yeah, Jay Lee's variant artwork. So they seem to suggest it might be this artist guy, but at the same time, now they're hinting that it might be Rorschach, the OG, the Walter Kovacs. And some people were like, "Wait, that doesn't fit the timeline though, because Rorschach would be a little bit older or younger at that time, I think." But then I was like, "Well, couldn't Doctor Manhattan, after he left, come back, brought him back, and then he could have been at the age he could have been had he could be at the age that he was a few years old younger, or than he could have been had he not died." But yeah, timeline wise, this does seem to suggest that that it could be OG Rorschach. Honestly, I was hoping this was set in the Doomsday Clock version of Watchmen, because I would have been curious to know where they would have taken Reggie Long's character, and especially where they could have taken the future and everything, where after Doomsday Clock and all the changes were made, we could have gotten more information of what happened to all the characters there, because it felt interesting. I mean, like, two characters are trapped in the DC universe living there, but Clark, as Dr. Manhattan named the kid, is there, so it would have been interesting to see where they took that. But it seems like we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to see where that Watchmen universe goes. I get the feeling this is part of the establishing of the Watchmen multiverse, which will probably be part of the DC multiverse, because if Watchmen exists in the multiverse, that means this will exist in the new multiverse after Death Metal. But yeah, this was a pretty good issue. The artwork's pretty good, and the coloring and whatnot really does fit the pop noir thing, the noir feel you got from it. A detective looking into this Rorschach mystery, he trying to figure out if this is the artist that they found, or is it the OG? And it's just insane. And the idea of having it open with his death is kind of fun. Reminds me of homaging to the comedian and all that. Also, another thing I'd like to give credit to is that they didn't try to mirror Dave Gibbons' Watchmen style with formatting of the panels. They instead just went, let's go with many panels as possible, or do our own thing, because Tom King is known for his 9-panel format he likes to do, but like he instead goes for more than just 9 panels at times, or less than 9 panels. Also, it goes from 3, 14. In fact, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 panels in one page. Yeah, it's just a very telling story here. I'm curious to know where this mystery goes. So this was a pretty good story, an introduction to this interpretive version of the HBO continuity of Watchmen, and it's going to be a very interesting read when as the issues come out in the subsequent months to the next year. And willing to see how this mystery goes. We'll see how this goes. So, those were my thoughts on Rorschach #1 by Tom King and George Forians. And this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more. And take care, everyone.